All right. I'm Lee, and I'm going to read some more Jubilees. Finished chapter 6 last time. I'm going to start at chapter 7 this time. And this was found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. All right. Sorry. Technical difficulties. All right. Book of Jubilees, chapter 7. And in the 7th week, in the first year thereof, in this Jubilee, Noah planted vines on the mountain on which the ark had rested, named Lubar, one of the Ararat mountains. And they produced fruit in the 4th year, and he guarded their fruit and gathered it in this year in the 7th month. And he made wine therefrom and put it into a vessel and kept it until the 5th year, until the first day on the new moon of the 1st month. And he celebrated with joy the day of this feast. And he made a burnt sacrifice unto Yahweh, 1 young ox and 1 ram and 7 sheep, each a year old, and a kid of goats, that he might make atonement thereby for himself and his sons. And he prepared the kid first, and placed some of its blood on the flesh that was on the altar which he had made, and all the fat he laid on the altar where he had made the burnt sacrifice, and the ox and the ram and the sheep. And he laid all their flesh upon the altar, and he placed all their offerings mingled with oil upon it. And afterwards he sprinkled wine on the fire which he had previously made on the altar, and he placed incense on the altar, and caused a sweet savor to ascend acceptable before Yahweh his Elohim. And he rejoiced and drank of this wine, he and his children, with joy. And it was evening, and he went into his tent, and being drunken he lay down and slept, and was uncovered in his tent as he slept. And Ham saw Noah his father naked, and went forth and told his 2 brethren without. And Shem took his garment and arose, he and Japheth, and they placed the garment on their shoulders, and went backward, and covered the shame of their father, and their faces were backward. And Noah awoke from his sleep, and knew all that his younger son had done unto him. And he cursed his son, and said, Cursed be Canaan, and his slave servant shall he be unto his brethren. And he blessed Shem, and said, Blessed be Yahweh Elohim of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. Yahweh shall enlarge Japheth, and Yahweh shall dwell in the dwelling of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. And Ham knew that his father had cursed his younger son, and he was displeased that he had cursed his son. And he parted from his father, he and his sons with him, Cush and Mitzrayim, and that's Egypt, Mitzrayim too, and Put and Canaan. And he built for himself a city, and called its name after the name of his wife, Mt.Mauk. And Japheth saw it, and became envious of his brother, and he too built for himself a city, and he called its name after the name of his wife, Adatenes. And Shem dwelt with his father Noah, and he built a city close to his father on the mountain, and he too called its name after the name of his wife, Sedek-Ketel-Labab. And behold, these 3 cities are near Mount Lubar, Sedek-Ketel-Labab, fronting the mountain on its east, and Neel-Latamauk, these names are hard, on the south, Adatenes toward the west. And these are the sons of Shem, Elam, and Ashur, and Arphaxad. This son was born 2 years after the flood, and Lud, and Aram, the sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Javan, and Tubal, and Meshech, and Tiras. These are the sons of Noah. And in the 28th Jubilee, Noah began to enjoin upon his sons the ordinances and the commandments. Oh, look, they were given before Israel. And all the judgments that he knew. And he exhorted his sons to observe righteousness, and to cover the shame of their flesh, and to bless their Creator, and honor father and mother, and love their neighbor, and guard their souls from fornication and uncleanness and all iniquity, lawlessness. And we can look that up right quick. It's good to have a definition. Say letter Bible. I might need to zoom in some so you can see it. Yeah. Iniquity. Me, I never knew you. Iniquity. Well, it should be in there. Look, I don't know if that's it or not. It's Matthew something. Let's see. Away from Matthew 7:23. 7:23. And there you go. And I'll profess to them, I never knew you. You that work iniquity. Iniquity is. Let's see, go back. Work iniquity. G458. Anomia. It is iniquity, unrighteousness, transgress the law, transgression of the law, the condition of without the law, because of ignorant of it, because of violating it, contempt and violation of law, iniquity, wickedness. So, and unclean all, guard your souls from fornication, uncleanness, and all iniquity. For owing to these three things came the flood upon the earth, namely owing to the fornication wherein the watchers against the law of the ordinances went a whoring after the daughters of men, and took themselves wives of all which they chose, and they made the beginning of uncleanness, and they begat sons, the Nephilim, and they were all unlike, and they devoured one another. And the giants slew the Nephil, and the Nephil slew the Eljo, and the Eljo mankind, and one man another, and every one sold himself to work iniquity, lawlessness, and to shed much blood, and the earth was filled with lawlessness, iniquity. And after this they sinned against the beast, and the birds, and all that moveth and walketh on the earth, and much blood was shed on the earth, and every imagination and desire of men imagined vanity and evil continually. And Yahweh destroyed everything from off the face of the earth because of the wickedness of their deeds, and because of the blood which they had shed in the midst of the earth. He destroyed everything. Say, wickedness of their deeds. Wickedness. Same thing. And we were left, I and you, my sons, and everything that entered with us into the ark. And behold, I see your works before me, that you do not walk in righteousness. For in the path of destruction you have begun to walk, and you are parting one from another, and are envious one of another. And so it cometh that ye are not in harmony, my sons, each with his brother. For I see and behold, the demons have begun their seductions against you and against your children. And now I fear on your behalf that after my death you will shed the blood of men upon the earth, and that ye too will be destroyed from the face of the earth. For whoso sheddeth man's blood, whoso eateth the blood of any flesh, will be all destroyed from the earth. And there will not be left any man that eateth blood, or that sheddeth the blood of man on the earth, nor will they be left to him any seed or descendants living under heaven. For into Sheol will they go, and into the place of condemnation they descend, and into the darkness of the deep will they all be removed by a violent death. There shall be no blood seen upon you. Of all the blood there shall be all the days in which you have killed any beast or cattle or whatever flieth upon the earth, and worked you a good work to your souls by covering that which hath been shed on the face of the earth. And you shall not be like him who eateth with blood, but guard yourselves that none may eat blood before you. Cover the blood, for thus have I been commanded to testify to you and your children together with all flesh. And suffer not the soul to be eaten with the flesh, that your blood, which is your life, may not be required of the hand of any flesh that sheddeth it on the earth. For the earth will not be clean from the blood which hath been shed upon it, for only through the blood of him that shed it will the earth be purified throughout all its generations. And now, my children, hearken, work judgment and righteousness, that you may be planted in righteousness over the face of the whole earth, and your glory be lifted, glory lifted up before my Elohim, who saved me from the waters of the flood. And behold, you will go and build for yourselves cities, and plant in them all the plants that are upon the earth, and moreover all fruit-bearing trees. For 3 years the fruit of everything that is eaten will not be gathered, and in the 4th year its fruit will be accounted holy, and they will offer the firstfruits, acceptable before the Most High Elohim, who created heaven and earth and all things. Let them offer in abundance the first of the wine and oil as firstfruits on the altar of Yahweh, who receiveth it. What is left to let the servants of the house of Yahweh eat before the altar which receiveth it. And in the 5th year make ye the release, so that ye release it in righteousness and uprightness, and ye shall be righteous, and all that you plant will prosper. For thus did Enoch, the father of your father, command Methuselah his son, and Methuselah his son Lamech. And Lamech commanded me all the things which his fathers commanded him. And I also will give you commandment, my sons, as Enoch commanded his son in the first Jubilees. While still living, the 7th in his generation, he commanded and testified to his son and to his son's sons until the day of his death. That's interesting. So, little notes there. And this is the R.H. Charles translation. And in the 29th Jubilee, in the 1st week, in the beginning thereof, Arphaxad took to himself a wife, and her name was Rasud Ejah, the daughter of Susan, the daughter of Elam, and she bare him a son in the 3rd year in this week, and he called his name Canaan. And the son grew, and his father taught him writing. And he went to seek for himself a place where he might seize for himself a city, and he found a writing which former generations had carved on the rock, and he read what was thereon. And he transcribed it and signed owing to it, for it contained the teaching of the watchers in accordance with which they had used to observe the omens of the sun and the moon and the stars and all the signs of heaven. And he wrote it down and said nothing regarding it, for he was afraid to speak to Noah about it, lest he should be angry with him on account of it. And in the 30th Jubilee, in the 2nd week, in the 1st year thereof, he took to himself a wife, and her name was Milcah, the daughter of Madai, the son of Japheth. And in the 4th year he begat a son, and called his name Shelah. For he said, Truly I have been sent. So this is the correct genealogy. And if you look at the genealogy here, let's see. It is, Genesis 11. Somewhere along the line between Jubilees and the Dead Sea Scrolls 2,000 years ago, in the text that we have today, it says that Shem begot Arphaxad, Arphaxad begot Shelah, and Shelah begot Eber. They've taken the Canaan out, and possibly because of this right here, where he found the writings of the Watchers, they took Jubilees out, and then they took him out of Genesis. he belongs in there. And also in Luke, where's Luke at? Genealogy in Luke, they got their dirty hands on everything. Luke, where's it at? Boy, that's a long chapter. Is it chapter 2? Let's see, where's it at? Luke. Luke 3. Is it Luke 3? I can't remember. I know it's in here. Let's see. Okay, Enos, son of Seth. Mahalalel, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, Noah, Shem, Arphaxad, Canaan, Shelah. So in the New Testament, you've got the correct genealogy right there. The Old Testament Genesis was messed with. And also what we look back, let me get back here right quick. I forgot the blood, don't eat blood. If you look in Acts lines up with Jubilees. Acts 15. 20? Yeah. And the fornication part in Jubilees. Right unto them that they abstain from pollutions of idols, fornication, things strangled, and from blood. See. Fornication. Envious on wrath, shed blood, and eat blood. Don't eat blood. Yep. Blood and fornication. It's in there. Yeah, fornication too. Anyways. Alright, and Shelah grew up and took to himself a wife, and her name was Muach, the daughter of Kesed, his father's brother, in the 31st Jubilee, in the 5th week, in the 1st year thereof. And she bare him a son in the 5th year thereof, and called his name Eber. And he took unto himself a wife, and her name was Azarad, the daughter of Nebrod, in the 32nd Jubilee, in the 7th week, in the 3rd year thereof. And in the 6th year thereof she bare him a son, and he called his name Peleg. For in the days when he was born, the children of Noah began to divide the earth amongst themselves. For this reason he called his name Peleg. And they divided secretly amongst themselves, and told it to Noah. And it came to pass in the beginning of the 33rd Jubilee that they divided the earth into 3 parts, for Shem and Ham and Japheth, according to the inheritance of each. In the 1st year in the 1st week, when one of us who had been sent was with them, and he called his sons, and they drew nigh to him, they and their children, and he divided the earth into the lots, which his sons were to take in possession. And they reached forth their hands, and took the writing out of the bosom of Noah their father, and there came forth on the writing as Shem's lot, the middle of the earth, which he should take as an inheritance for himself and for his sons, for the generations of eternity, from the middle of the mountain range of the river Rapha, from the mouth of the water, from the river Tina, and his portion goeth toward the west through the midst of this river, and it extendeth till it reaches the water of the abysses, out of which this river goes forth, and poureth its waters into the sea Miat. And this river floweth into the great sea, and all that is towards the north is Japheth, and all that is towards the south belongeth to Shem. And it extendeth till it reacheth Carasso. This is in the bosom of the tongue which looketh toward the south. And his portion extendeth along the great sea, and it extendeth in a straight line till it reacheth the west of the tongue which looketh toward the south. For this sea is named the tongue of the Egyptian sea. And it turned from here toward the south, toward the mouth of the great sea, on the shore of its waters, and it extendeth to the west to Aphra, and it extendeth till it reacheth the waters of the river Gihon, and to the south of the waters of Gihon to the banks of this river, and it extendeth toward the east till it reacheth the garden of Eden, to the south thereof, to the south and from the east of the whole land of Eden, and of the whole cast it turneth to the east, and proceedeth till it reaches the east of the mountain named Rapha, and it descendeth to the bank of the mouth of the river Tina. This portion came forth by lot for Shem and his sons, that they should possess it forever unto his generations forevermore. And Noah rejoiced that this portion came forth for Shem and for his sons, and he remembered all that he had spoken with his mouth in prophecy, for he had said, Blessed be Yahweh Elohim of Shem, and may Yahweh dwell in the dwelling of Shem. And he knew that the garden of Eden is the holy of holies, and the dwelling of Yahweh, and Mt.Sanai is the center of the desert, and Mount Zion the center of the navel of the earth. These three were created as holy places facing each other, and he blessed the Elohim of Elohims, who had put the word of Yahweh into his mouth, and Yahweh forevermore. And he knew that a blessed portion and a blessing had come to Shem and his sons unto the generations forever, the whole land of Eden, and the whole land of the Red Sea, and the whole land of the east, and India, and on the Red Sea, and the mountains thereof, and the land of Bashan, and the land of Lebanon, and the islands of Kaftur, and the mountains of Sinir, and Ammana, and the mountains of Ashur in the north, and all the land of Elam, Ashur, Babel, Suzanne, Madai, and all the mountains of Ararat, and all the region beyond the sea, which is beyond the mountains of Ashur toward the north, a blessed and spacious land, and all that is in it is very good. And if you look at oh, where's a good map? Let's see if I can find a good map there. That's a good way to tell what's in the middle and what's not. Let's say UN. See, they know it's flat. You just look at it. See, flat Earth. And then I guess Shem's portion would be in the middle. But you can't find it appropriately with the map that we have. But they know it's flat. Shem middle, Ham south, north Japheth. And let's see. And the land of Eden in the east. And for Ham came forth the second portion beyond the Gihon, toward the south to the right of the garden, and it extended toward the south, and it extended to all the mountains of fire, and it extended toward the west of the sea of Atel, and it extended toward the west till it reaches the sea of Mauk, that sea into which everything which is not destroyed descendeth. And it goeth forth toward the north to the limits of Gadir, and it goeth forth to the coast of the waters of the sea, to the waters of the great sea, till it draweth near to the river Gihon, and goeth along the river Gihon till it reaches the river to the right of the Garden of Eden. And this is the land which came forth for Ham as the portion which he was to occupy for himself forever, for himself and his sons unto their generations forever. And for Japheth came forth the third portion beyond the river Tina to the north of the outflow of its waters, and it extendeth northeasterly to the whole region of Gog, and to all the country east thereof, and it extendeth northerly to the north, and it extendeth to the mountains of Kelt toward the north, and toward the sea of Mauk, and it goeth forth to the east of Gadir, as far as the region of the waters of the sea, and it extendeth until it approaches the west of Phara, and it returneth towards Ephrog, and it extendeth easterly to the waters of the sea of Miet, and it extendeth to the region of the river Tina in a northeasterly direction until it approaches the boundary of its waters toward the mountain Rapha, and it turneth round toward the north. This land is the land which came forth for Japheth and his sons as the portion of his inheritance, which he should possess for himself and his sons for their generations forever, 5 great islands and a great land in the north. But it is cold in the land of Ham is hot, in the land of Shem is neither cold, hot nor cold, but it is blended cold and heat. And there's you another clue for where the location of the lands they have are at. You just look for cold land, hot land, Ham, Shem, neither cold nor hot. And Ham divided among, this chapter 9, and Ham divided amongst his sons, and the first portion came forth for Cush toward the east, and to the west of him for Mitzrayim. And Mitzrayim is Egypt, so that tells you hot, Ham, Mitzrayim, Egypt, Africa. And to the west of him for Put, and the west of him and the west thereof on the sea for Canaan. And Sheri also divided amongst his sons, and the first portion came forth for Elam and his sons to the east of the river Tigris, till it approaches the east, the whole land of India, and on the Red Sea, on its coast, and the waters of Dedan, and all the mountains of Mabri, and Elah, and all the land of Susan, and all that is on the side of Farnak, to the Red Sea, and the river Tina. And India may have been a different area back then, close to the area now, but different. And for Ashur came forth the second portion, all the land of Ashur, and Nineveh, and Shinar, and to the border of India, and it ascendeth and skirteth the river. And for Arphaxad came forth the third portion, all the land of the region of the Chaldees, to the east of the Euphrates, bordering on the Red Sea, and all the waters of the desert close to the tongue of the sea, which looketh towards Egypt, and all the land of Lebanon, and Sinir, and Ammana, to the border of the Euphrates. And for Aram there came forth the fourth portion, all the land of Mesopotamia, between the Tigris and the Euphrates, to the north of the Chaldees, to the border of the mountains of Ashur, and the land of Arara. And there came forth for Lud the fifth portion, the mountains of Ashur, and all appertaining to them, till it reacheth the great sea, until it reacheth the east of Ashur his brother. And Japheth also divided the land of his inheritance amongst his sons, and the first portion came forth for Gomer to the east from the north side of the river Tina, and in the north there came forth for Magog all the inner portions of the north, until it reacheth the sea of Miet. And for Madah came forth as his portion, that he should possess from the west of his two brothers to the islands, and to the coasts of the islands. And for Javan came forth the fourth portion, every island, and the islands which are toward the border of Lud. And for Tubal there came forth the fifth portion in the midst of the tongue which approacheth toward the border of the portion of Lud to the second tongue, to the region beyond the second tongue until the third tongue. And for Meshech came forth the sixth portion, and all the region beyond the third tongue, till it approacheth the east of Gadir. And for Tiras there came forth the seventh portion, 4 great islands in the midst of the sea, which reached toward the portion of Ham. And the islands of Kamaturi came out by lot for the sons of Arphaxad as his inheritance. And thus the sons of Noah divided unto their sons in the presence of Noah their father, and he bound them all by an oath, imprecating a curse on every one that sought to seize the portion which had not fallen to him by his lot. And they all said, So be it, so be it, for themselves and for their sons forever throughout their generations, till the day of judgment, on which Yahweh Elohim shall judge with a sword and with fire, for all the unclean wickedness of their errors, wherewith they have filled the earth with transgression and uncleanness and fornication and sin. So that's forever. Chapter 10. And in the third week of this Jubilees, the unclean demons began to lead astray the children of the sons of Noah, and to make to err and destroy them. So who's leading astray? Unclean demons. And the sons of Noah came to Noah their father, and they told him concerning the demons which were leading astray and blinding and slaying his sons. And he prayed before Yahweh Elohim and said, Yahweh, the spirits of all flesh, who has shown mercy unto me, and has saved me and my sons from the waters of the flood, and hast not caused me to perish as thou didst the sons of perdition. For thy grace hath been great toward me, and great hath thy mercy been thy mercy to my soul. Let thy grace be lift up upon my sons, and let not wicked spirits rule over them. But do thou bless me and my sons, that we may increase and multiply and replenish the earth. And thou knowest how thy watchers, the fathers of these spirits, acted in my day. And as for these spirits which are living, imprison them and hold them fast in the place of condemnation, and let them not bring destruction on the sons of thy servant, my Elohim, for these are malignant and created in order to destroy. And let them not rule over the spirits of the living, for thou alone canst exercise dominion over them, and let them not have power over the sons of the righteous from henceforth and forevermore. And Yahweh our Elohim bade us to bind all, and the chief of the spirits, Mestema, came and said, Yahweh Creator, let some of them remain before me, and let them hearken to my voice, and do all that I shall say unto them. For if some of them are not left to me, I shall not be able to execute the power of my will on the sons of men. For these are for corruption and leading astray before my judgment. For great is the wickedness of the sons of men. So this is Satan came before the Creator and asked him to let some of the spirits remain. And he said, let the 10th part of them remain before him, and let 9 parts descend into the place of condemnation. And so that's Yahweh, the Creator, said, let 10th of them remain and 9 parts descend. And then and one of us, talking about the angels, he commanded that we should teach Noah all their medicines, for he knew that they would not walk in uprightness, nor strive in righteousness. So if they don't walk in righteousness and uprightness, they need medicines. And we did according to all his words. All the malignant evil ones we bound in the place of condemnation, and a 10th part of them we left, that they might be subject before Satan. There you go. On the earth. So he's got evil spirits working for him. And we explained to Noah all the medicines of their diseases, together with their seductions, how he might heal them with herbs of the earth. Not pharmaceuticals, with herbs of the earth. And Noah wrote down all things in a book as we instructed him concerning every kind of medicine. Thus the evil spirits were precluded from hurting the sons of Noah, and he gave all that he had written to Shem, his eldest son, for he loved him exceedingly above all his sons. And Noah slept with his fathers, and was buried on Mount Lubar in the land of Ararat. 950 years he completed his life, 19 jubilees in 2 weeks and 5 years. And in his life on earth he excelled the children of men, save Enoch, because of the righteousness wherein he was perfect. Yeah. Nobody can be perfect. Hear that all the time. Well, here it says Noah was perfect. For Enoch's office was ordained for a testimony to the generations of the world, so that he should recount it says Enoch was perfect. He excelled all the children. Noah excelled all the children of men, except Enoch, because of the righteousness wherein he was perfect. Well, maybe it's talking about Noah and Enoch. For Enoch's office was ordained for a testimony to the generations of the world, that he should recount all the deeds of generation unto generation until the day of judgment. And if you haven't read Enoch, then it's a good idea to read Enoch. This was found in the Dead Sea Scrolls also. This is a translation by R.H. Charles, and it's very, very important. That's what Jubilees is talking about. Enoch, his testimony to he blessed the elect and righteous who will be living in the day of tribulation, when all the wicked and the godless are to be removed. See, from them I understood and saw, but not for this generation, but for a remote one which is to come. All right. So that's the Enoch's office was ordained for a testimony to the generations of the world, and he does recount deeds of generation to generation till the day of judgment. And in the 33rd Jubilee, in the first year in the second week, Peleg took to himself a wife, whose name was Lamna, the daughter of Sinar. She bare him a son in the 4th year of this week, and he called his name Reu. For he said, Behold, the children of men have become evil through the wicked purpose of building for themselves a city and a tower in the land of Shinar. For they departed from the land of Ararat eastward to Shinar, for in his days they built the city and the tower, saying, Go, let us ascend thereby into heaven. And they began to build, and in the 4th week they made brick with fire, and the bricks served them for stone. And the clay with which they cemented them together was asphalt, which cometh out of the sea, and out of the foundations of water in the land of Shinar. 10, right? 17, yeah. Sorry. 21, and they built it 40 years were they building it. Its breadth was 203 bricks, and the height of a brick was the third of one. Its height amounted to 5,433 cubits and 2 palms, and the extent of one wall was 13 stades, and the other 30 stades. So its height was 5,433 cubits. So what you do is Egyptian cubit. Calculator. Egyptian cubit was the ancient cubit that was used. So you say it was 5,433 cubits, right? Yeah. And you want to convert that to convert Egyptian cubit to feet. Right. The tower they built, Tower of Babel, 8,000 feet tall. So 8,000 feet tall, world's tallest building. World's tallest building. It's like modern. List of the tallest buildings in Wikipedia. Okay, so this one is Burj Khalifa in Dubai, the tallest building since 2010, and this is 2,717 feet. So the one that they built, the Tower of Babel, was 8,000 feet. Almost 4 times the size of this one. Behold, they are one people, and this they begin to do, and now nothing will be withholden from them. Go to, let us go down and confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech, and they may be dispersed into cities and nations, and one purpose will no longer abide with them till the day of judgment. So one purpose won't abide with them until the day of judgment. And Yahweh descended, and we descended with him to see the city and the tower which the children of men had built. And probably this is Yahusha descended. And he confounded their language, and they no longer understood one another's speech, and they ceased then to build the city and the tower. For this reason the whole land of Shinar is called Babel, because Yahweh did there confound all the language of the children of men. And from thence they were dispersed into their cities, each according to his language and his nation. And Yahweh sent a mighty wind against the tower, and overthrew it upon the earth. And behold, it was between Ashur and Babylon, in the land of Shinar, and they called its name Overthrow. In the 4th week in the 1st year, in the beginning thereof, in the 4th and 30th Jubilee, were they dispersed in the land of Shinar. And if you calculator app, so you're looking at in the 4th week, 4 and 30th Jubilee. So you got 33 Jubilees, 49 years. That's the year 1617. In the 4th week in the 1st year, the beginning of the next Jubilee. The 4th week in the 1st year, in the beginning thereof, in the 34th Jubilee. So 16, 17 is 33 Jubilees. And 4 times 7, 4th week. No, 4 times 6. 4th week, 3 times 7. 3 times 7, 21. The 1st year plus 16, 17. So you're about the year 1638. They were dispersed in the land of Shinar. And Ham and his sons went into the land which he was to occupy, which he acquired as his portion in the land of the south. And Canaan saw the land of Lebanon to the river of Egypt, that it was very good. And he went not into the land of his inheritance to the west, that is, to the sea. And he dwelt in the land of Lebanon, eastward and westward from the border of the Jordan and from the border of the sea. So that's the land of Canaan, which was supposed to be for the Israelites, for Shem, but he took it instead. If you go to Matthew, KJV, nope, KJV, Matthew chapter 1, Abraham, let's see, Book of Generations of Abraham. Well, this goes from Abraham. Yeah, all the way from Abraham to Judah. So he took that, and Ham his father, and Cush, and Mitzrayim, Egypt, his brothers, said unto him, Thou hast settled in a land which is not thine, and which did not fall to us by lot. Do not do so, for if thou dost do so, thou and thy sons will fall in the land and be accursed through sedition. For by sedition you have settled, and by sedition will thy children fall, and thou shalt be rooted out forever. Dwell not in the dwelling of Shem, for to Shem and to his sons did it come by their lot. Cursed art thou, and cursed shalt thou be beyond all the sons of Noah, by the curse by which we bound ourselves by an oath in the presence of the holy judge, and in the presence of Noah our father. But he did not hearken unto them, and dwelt in the land of Lebanon from Hamath to the entering of Egypt, he and his sons, until this day. And for this reason that land is named Canaan. And Japheth and his sons went toward the sea, and dwelt in the land of their portion. And Madai saw the land of the sea, and it did not please him, and he begged a portion from Elam and Ashur and Arphaxad, his wife's brother. And he dwelt in the land of Media, near to his wife's brother, until this day. And he called his dwelling place and the dwelling place of his sons Media, after the name of their father Madai. So son of Arphaxad is Canaan also, and that's not the same person as the son of Ham, Canaan that took the land. And in the 35th Jubilee, in the 3rd week, in the 1st year thereof, Reu took to himself a wife, and her name was Orah, the daughter of the son of Chesed, and she bare him a son, and he called his name Saroh. In the 7th year of this week, in this Jubilee, and the sons of Noah began to war on each other, to take captive, and to slay each other, and to shed blood, the blood of men on the earth, and to eat blood, and to build strong cities, and walls, and towers, and individuals began to exalt themselves above the nation, and to found the beginnings of kingdoms, and to go to war against people, nation against nation, city against city, and all began to do evil, and to acquire arms, and to teach their sons war, and they began to capture cities, and to sell male and female slaves. And the son of Chesed built the city of Arah of the Chaldees, and called its name after his own name and the name of his father. And they made for themselves molten images, and they worshipped each the idol, the molten image which they had made for themselves. And they began to make graven images and unclean simulacra, and malignant spirits assisted and seduced them into committing transgression and uncleanness. They got here's one place. Statues. Yep. Graven images. Here's you a few. Oh, lots of statues. Yep. Not good. Not good at all. Oh, look, kissing a statue. Nope. Bad news. And let's see. Molten images, worshipped idols. And the prince Mastema exerted himself to do all this, and he sent forth other spirits, those which were put under his hand, to do all manner of wrong and sin, and all manner of transgression, to corrupt and destroy, and to shed blood upon the earth. For this reason he called the name of Sarug, for every one turned to do all manner of sin and transgression. And he grew up and dwelt in of the Chaldees, near to the father of his wife's mother, and he worshipped idols. And he took to himself a wife in the 36th Jubilee, in the 5th week, in the 1st year thereof, and her name was Milcah, the daughter of Cabir, the daughter of his father's brother, and she bare him Nahor. In the first year of this week, and he grew and dwelt in of the Chaldees, and his father taught him the researches of the Chaldees, to divine and augur according to the signs of heaven. And that was sounds like what Canaan found on that stone that the watchers, according to the signs of heaven. sure we're on 11. Where's that at? And yep, see. Canaan, carved on a rock, transcribed and sinned owing to it, teachers of the watchers, and according which they used to observe the omens of the sun and moon and stars and all the signs of heaven. And his father taught him the researches of the Chaldees to divine and augur according to the signs of heaven. So they were passing this knowledge down. And in the 37th Jubilee, in the 6th week, in the first year thereof, he took to himself a wife, and her name was Yaska, the daughter of Nestag of the Chaldees, and she bare him Terah. In the 7th year of this week, and the prince Mastema sent ravens and birds to devour the seed which was sown in the land, in order to destroy the land and rob the children of men of their labors. See, the reason he could do this was people were being wicked. If they were righteous, he couldn't do that. He wouldn't have permission. Well, he could get permission. As in Job, he got permission for Job, and for this reason, he called his name Terah, because the ravens and the birds reduced them to destitution and devoured their seed. And the years began to be barren owing to the birds, and they devoured all the fruit of the trees from the trees. It was only with great effort that they could save a little of all the fruit of the earth in their days. And in this 39th Jubilee, in the 2nd week, in the first year, Terah took to himself a wife, and her name was Edna, the daughter of Abraham, the daughter of his father's sister. And in the 7th year of this week she bare him a son, and he called his name Abram, by the name of the father of his mother, for he had died before his daughter had conceived a son. So here Abraham came from the line of Seth. And the child began to understand the errors of the earth, that all went astray after graven images. And see there. Yeah, well, look, we're back at the beginning again. And after uncleanness, and his father taught him writing, and he was 2 weeks of years old. And he separated himself from his father. So 2 weeks of years is 7 years is a week. Another 7 years. So he was 14 years old, and separated himself from his father, that he might not worship idols with him. And he began to pray to the Creator of all things, that he might save him from the errors of the children of men, and that his portion should not fall into error after uncleanness and vileness. And the seed time came for the sowing of seed upon the land, and they all went forth together to protect their seed against the ravens. And Abram went forth with those that went, and the child was a lad of 14 years. And a cloud of ravens came to devour the seed, and Abram ran to meet them before they settled on the ground, and cried to them before they settled on the ground to devour the seed, and said, Descend not, return to the place whence ye came. And they proceeded to turn back. And he caused the clouds of ravens to turn back that day 70 times. Very interesting. Messiah said to forgive 70 times 7. And of all the ravens throughout all the land where Abram was there settled, there not so much as one. And all who were with him throughout all the land saw him cry out, and all the ravens turned back, and his name became great in all the land of the Chaldees. These were the ones that were messing with the signs of heaven, to divine and augur. And there came to him this year all those that wished to sow, and he went with them until the time of the sowing ceased. And they sowed their land, and that year they brought enough grain home, and ate, and were satisfied. And in the 5th year of the 5th week, Abram taught those who made implements for oxen, the artificers in wood, and they made a vessel above the ground, facing the frame and the plow, in order to put the seed thereon. And the seed fell down therefrom upon the share of the plow, and was hidden in the earth, and they no longer feared the ravens. And after this manner they made vessels above the ground, on all the frames of the plows, And they sowed and tilled all the land according as Abram commanded them, and they no longer feared the birds. Let's see, chapter 12. Did I read 12 too? And it came to pass in this chapter 12 here, and it came to pass in the 6th week in the 7th year thereof that Abram said to Terah his father, saying, Father, and he said, Behold, here am I, my son. And he said, What help and profit have we from those idols which thou dost worship, and before which thou dost bow thyself? For there is no spirit in them, for they are dumb forms and a misleading of the heart. Worship them not. Worship the God of heaven, the Elohim of heaven, who causeth the rain and the dew to descend on the earth, and doeth everything upon the earth, and hath created everything by his word, and all life is from before his face. Why do you worship things that have no spirit in them? You don't have no spirit in them. Ooh, same thing. And for they are the work of men's hands, and on your shoulders do you bear them, and you have no help from them. But they are a great cause of shame to those who make them, and a misleading of the heart to those who worship them. Worship them not. And his father said unto him, I also know it, my son, but what shall I do with a people who have made me serve before them? And if I tell them the truth, they will slay me, for their soul cleaveth to them to worship them and honor them. Keep silent, my son, lest they slay thee. And these words he spake to his 2 brothers, and they were angry with him, and he kept silent. And in the 40th Jubilee, in the 2nd week, in the 7th year thereof, Abram took to himself a wife, and her name was Sarah, the daughter of his father, and she became his wife. And Haran his brother took to himself a wife in the 3rd year of the 3rd week, and she bare him a son in the 7th year of this week, and he called his name Lot. And Nahor his brother took to himself a wife, and in the 60th year of the life of Abram, that is in the 4th week, in the 4th year thereof, Abram arose by night and burned the house of idols, and he burned not all that was in the house, and no man knew it. And they arose in the night and sought to save their gods from the midst of the fire, and Haran hasted to save them, but the fire flamed over him, and he was burnt in the fire, and he died in Ur of the Chaldees before Terah his father, and they buried him in Ur of the Chaldees. Now, something I want to point out here. Abram burned the house of idols, and Haran died in the fire. If anyone knows this book here, this book right here is a fraud. Jubilees was found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. This book right here was not. And was it chapter 10? Let me look this up right quick. Search. Jasher 11, chapter 11. This says here, see, Abram came to his father's house. Added a bunch of stuff to the story. Abram fed the idols, so he's feeding idols. That means he's worshiping idols. That's crap. Abram wouldn't do that. And behold, they make it sound good. It says, woe unto my father in this wicked generation, but they stick a bunch of extra junk in there. And see, Abram saw these things. His anger was kindled. He hasted and took a hatchet and came to the chamber of the gods and broke all his father's idols after he was worshiping them by feeding them food. See? And then, not only that, it says he destroyed the idols and he placed a hatchet in one of the idols' hands. And then he turns him into Nimrod. Nimrod throws him in a fire. see, where's that? So he took Abram and his brother, stripped them their clothes, bound their hands and feet, and threw them into the furnace. And Yahweh loved Abraham and had compassion over him and delivered Abraham. But his brother died in the furnace fire. So he died in the fire, but he didn't. They twisted it. This book is crap. Do not read the book of Jasher. Junk. Book of Jubilees, Torah, Scripture. See, Abraham rose by night, burned the house of idols, burned all that was in the house. And his brother tried to save him and died in the fire. Very simple. And Terah went forth from Ur of the Chaldees, he and his sons, to go into the land of Lebanon and into the land of Canaan. And he dwelt in the land of Haran. And Abram dwelt with Terah his father in Haran 2 weeks of years. And in the 6th week, in the 5th year thereof, Abram set up throughout the night on the new moon of the 7th month to observe the stars from the evening to the morning, in order to see what the character of the year would be with regard to the rains. And he was alone as he sat and observed. And a word came into his heart, and he said, all the signs of the stars and the signs of the moon and of the sun are all of the hand of Yahweh. Why do I search them out? If he desireth, he causes it to rain morning and evening. And if he desireth, he withholdeth it, and all things are in his hand. And he prayed that night and said, my Elohim, Yahweh Most High, thou art alone, or my Elohim. And thee and thy dominion have I chosen, and thou hast created all things, and all things that are the work of thy hands. Deliver me from the hands of evil spirits, who have sway over the thoughts of men's hearts. And let them not lead me astray from thee, my Elohim. And establish thou me and my seed forever, that we go not astray from henceforth and forevermore. And he said, shall I return unto Ur of the Chaldees, who seek my face, that I may return to them, or am I to remain here in this place? The right path before thee, prosper it in the hands of thy servant, that he may fulfill it, and that I may not walk in the deceitfulness of my heart, O my Elohim. And he made an end of speaking and praying, and behold, the word of Yahweh was sent to him through me, saying, get thee up from thy country, and from thy kindred, and from the house of thy father, unto a land which I shall show to thee. And I shall make thee a great and numerous nation, and I shall bless thee, and shall make thy name great, and thou wilt be blessed in the earth, and in thee will all families of the earth be blessed. And I shall bless them that bless thee, and curse them that curse thee. And I shall be a Elohim to thee, and thy son, and to thy son's son, and to all thy seed. Fear not, from henceforth unto all generations of the earth, I am thy Elohim. And Yahweh Elohim said, open his mouth and his ears, that he may hear and speak with his mouth with the language which hath been revealed. For it had ceased from the mouths of all the children of men from the day of the overthrow of Babel. And I opened his mouth and his ears and his lips, and I began to speak with him in Hebrew, in the tongue of creation. And he took the book of his fathers, and these were written in Hebrew, and he transcribed them, and he began from henceforth to study them. And I made known to him that which he could not understand, and he studied them during the 6 rainy months. And it came to pass in the 7th year of the 6th week that he spoke to his father, and informed him that he would leave Haran to go into the land of Canaan, and to see it and return to him. And Terah his father said unto him, go in peace. May the eternal Elohim make thy path straight, and Yahweh be with thee, and protect thee from all evil, and grant unto thee grace, mercy, and favor before those who see thee. And may none of the children of men have power over thee to harm thee. Go in peace. And if thou seest a land pleasant to thy eyes to dwell in, then arise and take me to thee, and take Lot with thee, the son of Haran thy brother, as thine own son. Yahweh be with thee, and Nahor thy brother. Leave with me till thou returnest in peace, and we go with thee together. So we got to chapter 13. I'll show the lineage of generations of the Messiah, son of Abraham. Starts at Abraham, and he is lineage of Abraham, straight through Mary. And Judah, Abraham begot Isaac, Isaac begot Jacob, Jacob begot Judah, not Judas, Judah. And so Judah, not Levi, he came straight from the tribe of Judah. David to the Messiah. Jacob begot Joseph, the husband of Mary, of whom was born the Messiah. So, he's straight out of the tribe of Judah. And get rid of that. That book's junk. Junk. Alright, so I'll end at chapter 13. Hopefully this was helpful to somebody. And study it out. Don't listen to man. Pray and study to show yourself approved. If there's anything wrong, it's on my end. If anything right, all praise to the Most High.